Are you looking for a heavier weight, bigger pistol that needs to be blowback, multi-round dropout magazine fed, but pellets not BB? Well, I may just have the answer to what you've been looking for. The all-new Sig Sauer X5. Hello and welcome to AAR On Air. Yes, we have another new gun to review today. The Sig Sauer X5, not to be confused with the previous BB model, the 226 X5. This really does seem to be packed with loads of desirable features in the £189 UK price tag. But is it worth the slightly higher price? Let's take a look. Okay, the walk round. Well, it's all metal and quite a handful. Not the kind of gun you'd want to be holding out at arm's length for prolonged periods of time, with the weight it is. That said, it is very comfortable in the hand. The top slider, bottom, trigger guard and trigger are all metal, with the only real polymer part being those comfortable grips. The dropout magazine is plastic, but more about that later. It has open sights, front and rear, with the rears being adjustable for windage and elevation, which is really quite unusual for a gun of this type in this price range. The safety is very sure-footed and ambidextrous, with that very satisfying click when operated. No vagueness here. That gets a big thumbs up from me. The barrel is steel and rifled, and hopefully will prove its worth in the target work later. There is a Picatinny rail running along the bottom for toys if required, and whilst it shows catchers on the side for field stripping, they're non-functioning, and as such it's not really field strippable. Nor does it have lock open on last shot, which is a shame really. Not a deal breaker, but a bit of a preference of mine. Loading the CO2 is probably how all CO2 pistols should be loaded, with a simple click open, drop in and click back together. Minimum of fuss. I like that. And of course that can be found on other SIG pistols as well. The trigger. Well, the trigger probably needs to be talked about in conjunction with that magazine, which is a 20 round pellet belt fed system in a dropout case. The release is on the left hand side of the grip, which then reveals that plastic magazine. To load this, simply pull back the flap, which reveals the belt system inside. Then load up with 20 177 pellets, rotating the belt and being careful it doesn't jam. When it's full, simply close the flap and drop it back into the bottom of the grip. Simple. Now, this is driven by the trigger, so it makes the early stages of the trigger a little ratchety. Not stiff, but ratchety. And you're finding out that the trigger is doing more than one job. But you become aware that the trigger is doing the work of rotating that magazine. Now this is quite an efficient system, but you sort of miss the weight behind that full metal dropout magazine. But if it means being able to have 20 rounds of pellets rather than BBs, I can live with that. The final trigger pull weighs in at about 8.5 pounds, so it's quite heavy. Now the box states it's capable of 430 feet per second. That looks like the gauntlet thrown down to me. Here's what happened in the chrono test. The highest FPS I saw with 7.33 grain pellets was 358, with an average of 341 feet per second, giving 1.89 foot-pounds or 2.57 joules. So what about the alloy pellets? Well, the fastest was 393 feet per second, which is getting closer to that claimed 430. And this was achieved with a brand new CO2 fitted on a warm day. So I wouldn't expect much faster from this one, to be fair. But for a CO2 blowback pistol, that's quite respectable and powerful enough. Especially when you consider I was still getting between 60 and 80 shots, good shots, per CO2. Here's the bit we've been waiting for then, the accuracy test. As always, 8 meters, straight out of the box, no practice and no adjustments. Keep going. Not too shabby then. With time and adjustments to the rear sight, this should improve it. And of course this has a rifle barrel, which really needs leading in by firing 100 or more shots first. Final verdict then, and sum up. Well, I love it when companies try something new, and Sig have put plenty of new tricks into this gun and made a terrific pistol with blowback, fabulous CO2 system that's quick, easy and efficient, a 20 round magazine of pellets rather than ricocheting BBs, in an all metal bigger gun. Is it worth the price? Well, I actually think this gun represents really good value for money.